it off to you to get us started. Thank you.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our 2023 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. As Ava said, it's been years since we've done a live event, and guess what? We're hosting it here in Elgin. I won't delay our production too much longer, but one of the things I want to start with is a quote from Dr. King. Dr. King said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." Okay, I can repeat that, but I know that's a good one. All right. You see, Dr. King had the unique ability to really embody the life of the mind with the struggle for freedom. You see, he had a dream for America's future and a universal hope for our future that continues to resonate today. Okay? So, this is a live production, so we want you to laugh, just like that. We want you to clap and feel any emotion that comes to you. All right? So, without further ado, Bold, Illinois presents Radicalizing the Dream.
Throughout history, we have always had little-known individuals who didn't seek acclaim, but radical change by any means. They understood that sacrifice was the greatest power they had to fight against opposition that would rather keep them in bondage than provide equal rights to all. Today, Bold recognizes the radical dreamers who fearlessly fought for the rights of all people. These are their stories.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breathe. Please tell me this doesn't have to do with you and Marcus breaking up for the 5th time this semester, does it?
Try again.
Well, obviously something is bothering you, so I thought it was teenage heartbreak again, sweetie.
It's worse.
Oof. All right, you're making me a little nervous. What's going on?
Okay, Dad. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Nuggets.
Nuggets. As in chicken nuggets? Sweetie, did someone hit you on the head with the chicken nuggets? I'll go to school if they did.
See, I knew you wouldn't understand.
Okay, well, you gotta give me a little bit more than that.
Okay. Well, first off, chicken is a very liberal word for what these nuggets are made of.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, they serve these nuggets every Tuesday religiously. And every Tuesday religiously, I request to speak to the principal, to petition them to either release the ingredients of all food served or provide healthier alternatives.
Okay, I see you, my little freedom fighter.
So I was finally able to meet with the principal 2 weeks ago. And since that meeting, do you know what they serve every Tuesday?
Let me guess. Kale smoothies?
Chicken nuggets.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe the principal just needs more time to make a change like that.
No, Dad. I'm sick and tired of waiting for change. We don't know what harm these foods could potentially be doing to our long-term health. At least give us options.
Wow, you're really passionate about this, aren't you? Well, you know I want to help you. I'm just not sure where I can start.
Well, maybe I need to step my game up. Didn't Grandpa always used to say how back in the day, they used to refuse to take no for an answer?
Well, you know, your grandfather comes from a very different time than we do.
How different, Dad? I mean, I wish I could channel just a smidge of their fighting spirit.
Uh-huh. And get them to do what? Build a Whole Foods next door?
See, I knew you wouldn't understand.
All right, I'm sorry. How can I help?
I don't know, but it needs to be something radical in order to gain attention.
Gotcha, but I don't want you to get into trouble or anything.
Now, didn't the late great congressman and civil rights activist John Lewis tweet, and I quote, "Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get into good trouble, necessary trouble."
Oh, Lily, between your grandfather's old books and that black Twitter, I don't know what I'm gonna do with you.
That's it. Papa's old books. That's where I can get some actual inspiration and guidance.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I got some of the books from the house when you passed away last year. Let's take a look here. Here we go.
Here we go. Nina Simone?
Nina Simone, the high priestess of soul. That girl could blow, and she definitely used her voice to make some social change.
It actually says here that she challenged all of the societal impositions placed on black women.
Baby girl, if you could have only heard her sing.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree is a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still badly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nina Simone.
I'd like to dedicate this performance to the radical dreamer, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And if I could just have you clap with me as well. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could be all the things that I could be. Say them loud, say them clear, for the whole round world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know how it feels to be me. Then you'll see and agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live how I'm longing to live. I'll fall to the side and look down at the sea. Then I'll sing, 'cause I know that every man should be free. Yeah, I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. how sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'll soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'll sing, 'cause I know. Then I'll sing, 'cause I know, yeah. Then I'll sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Yeah, I know how it feels to be free.
In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.
I think I found somebody else interesting. Jane Addams.
Who?
I don't know who this lady is, but Dad has her name circled in one of these books we found.
Then she must have been important.
The good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life. True peace is not merely the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. For action is indeed the sole medium of expression for ethics. Okay, so none of that? None of that rings a bell? Why would it? It's not like I have a biopic on Lifetime yet. In fact, I bet the director of this play had to go deep into Google to find me. Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is...
Excuse me.
No worries. No respect. You guys don't know. No one knows. Sorry, as I was saying, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jane Addams. Some would call me a feminist, an activist, but mainly, I guess you would say I'm best known for creating the entire social work profession. I served the underserved. I remember someone wrote this about me once. She was a radical pragmatist and the first woman public philosopher in the United States. Ooh. Oh, and I better not forget this, and not to brag or anything, but I was the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, yeah, there we go. That one did feel good, I have to admit. So you all have to remember me now, right? Well, if you don't, this is gonna sting a little. I'm actually from Chicago. Exactly. Thank you. Born in Cedarville, Illinois in you know what? Google me if you want my age. But in all seriousness, I devoted my life's mission to bringing people together. Ellen Gate Starr, a friend of mine from college, she and I created the very first settlement house in the United States. We started it right here in Chicago, and it was called the Hull House. The house was a melting pot of diverse culture, the privileged and the poor, mainly engaging the immigrant communities. We had an arts program, a night school for adults, a public kitchen, programs for older children, a girls' club, among many other services. You see, I had this radical idea that by exposing each other to our own individual plights, we could breed empathy for each other, create a moral obligation to one another. We even conducted research to try and solve the societal ails at the time, like tuberculosis, housing, fatigue, and drug addiction. At its height, we had almost 2,000 citizens served. 2,000 citizens served, for those in the back. Well, it's getting late, and I should head back to the early 1900s and check on this radical idea of mine. But now that you know who I am, you should Google me. Yeah. I will leave you with these 3 ethical principles. Practice cooperation, teach by example, and practice social democracy. Oh, did you guys know that there's a park near Navy Pier named after me? The Northwest Tollway? It's named after me too. I even have a day named after me, December 10th, Jane Addams Day.
Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It will be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. And those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. And there will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline.
Ooh, Maya Angelou. Now I know who that is.
That's Dr. Maya Angelou to you, young lady, and she was a phenomenal woman indeed.
We're actually learning about her and watching one of her speeches in school.
It has been a few very hard years for me. My birthday is April 4th. Since 1968, that has been a very difficult birthday to celebrate because it now serves as a reminder of great loss, but also a reminder of great sacrifice. I heard many try to call my friend passive and not as radical as we needed him to be. I fiercely push back on this notion because when you live in a time where the mere freedom and civil rights of men and women are being challenged as they are in this day and time, how could you not be considered a radical? Now please, allow me to share my final thoughts through a poem I wrote entitled, When Great Trees Fall. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence. Their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promise walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much mad as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces filled with the kind of soothing, electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Thank you.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves, the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll be judged by not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with this vicious racist, with this governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Is everything okay, sweetie?
Well, Dad, I was obviously inspired reading through some of Grandpa's old books.
Oh God, please tell me you didn't get kicked out of school and we
No,
have to
Dad.
move to another school district because
No.
I can't afford to move to another
No,
district
Dad,
now.
I didn't get kicked out of school.
Okay. What happened?
Well, I knew I needed to do something big in order to get attention.
Okay.
So, me and some of my friends went on Amazon and we found some chicken costumes.
It's okay.
So, after the first period of lunch, we all got together and we chained ourselves to the cafeteria entrances. You're worse than the kids who threw barbecue sauce at us.
Barbecue sauce! No honey mustard, huh? Barbecue sauce. Fine, what happened next?
Well, we all got a week of in-school suspension for disrupting the lunch schedule, but other students agreed with our protest, got other parents involved, And now the school will be updating and publishing the ingredients of all food served.
Well done. Look at you, my little disruptor. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Dad. I'm glad that I was able to pull my strength through so many brave, radical leaders from the past.
But the only question now is,
Where do we go from here?
Did you all enjoy that?
Yes.
Do we have more?
We were back there writing as you sat out there and watched. No, I am so grateful for every single one of our cast and crew members. They did such a phenomenal job.